What if I told you with a Steam Deck and an external DVD drive that you can play your original PlayStation 2 disc without a console? Let's dive into how it works and why this might be the best way to start collecting PlayStation 2 games again. So hear me out. Finding a working PS2 console can be tricky these days, especially when you're out on the hunt looking for them, when you're looking on platforms like eBay, your local thrift store, or maybe even GameStop. While you can come across decent deals, the real challenge is ensuring the console works as expected. Common issues with used PS2 consoles include problems with the disc tray not opening or closing properly, faulty power connections, or even issues with the composite video output. Getting a PS2 to work with a modern TV can also be a pain. But with the Steam Deck, you avoid all of that. You can get the flexibility of the handheld system with its own built-in screen, and if you prefer a bigger display, it's easy to hook up to your TV. Alright, let's get into how this works. If you got a Steam Deck and an external DVD drive, you're halfway there. First, you need to get an emulator. You'll need to install PCS X2, the PlayStation 2 emulator. You can grab it from the Discover store on the Steam Deck's desktop mode, or install it through EmuDeck if you're setting up multiple emulators. Now there's one tricky part to this setup that you will need, and that's a BIOS file. I can't provide that for you, but you can find information to legally obtain it online. Once you have your BIOS files, the next thing you should do is connect your external DVD drive to the Steam Deck using a USB-C hub or an adapter or even a dock itself. With the emulator installed, you can boot the game directly from the disc. No need to rip ISOs or dump the collection. Now here's where the Steam Deck shines. PCS X2 allows for higher resolution, better filtering, improved performance. If you're used to playing the original hardware, this is a great way to experience those games in a new way while still keeping the physical disc experience. So now that you know how to play PlayStation 2 disc on your Steam Deck, let's talk about why this might be the perfect time to start collecting. So let's say you want to start collecting PlayStation 2 games. You might think you need to check eBay or hit up a retro game store, but honestly, some of the best deals are hiding in the places where most people overlook, and that's the thrift store. I've come across a lot of PlayStation 2 games from Goodwills, mom and pop shops, antique stores for crazy prices. On average, when I see a PlayStation 2 game, it's between $2 and $4. Now that is crazy cheap. And one of the best things is a lot of these thrift stores have discount days on specific days and color tag sales that you can get these games for relatively cheap. Recently, I was able to go to my local thrift store and find a couple games for less than $3. I've never really paid attention to stuff like this before. I see PlayStation 2 games and keep walking by, but once I realized I can play them directly on my Steam Deck, that completely changed the game for me. Some days you may find games, other days you won't. A lot of times you will find games that are like really cheap, like shovelware. There are other days you might find a hidden gem. On my recent search, I was able to get 2 sports titles and a first-person shooter. It's about preserving these games. You're getting a real physical copy of the game, not just a digital file or ISOs you're trying to download, and playing it with better graphics from the emulator on modern hardware. So if you got a Steam Deck, an optical drive, and a few thrift stores nearby, you've already got everything you need to build a collection without really spending a fortune. Now I want to hear from you. What PS2 game that you would like to revisit? Or better yet, what's your best find coming across a PS2 game at a thrift store? Drop it in the comments and let's talk.